Good evening, everybody. I hope my voice is reaching you guys loud and clear. If so, please type a Y on the chat box so that it can give me a go ahead if I am audible. All right, that's great. Thank you. All right. Welcome to the session, everyone. My name is Kritika Krishna, and I am one of the experts here at Leverage IELTS for this widely taken exam called IELTS. Extending a warm welcome and shedding light on what we are going to do today. We are going to understand the nuances related to reading pertaining to one very common and most confusing question type. So, before we get started, I have a couple of questions which I would like to ask you, which can give me a clarity with regards to what particular challenges you might be facing. But then let me get to know a few things from you guys. Type a Y or an N as a response, yes or no. Tell me, have you booked your exam? Have you taken a slot for IELTS yet? Let me know. Have you taken a test date? No. Okay. And have we tried any practice test paper, especially related to reading? Have you taken any practice test papers of reading? Type a Y or an N. Yes or no? No. All right. Um, have are you aware what question types are there in reading? Again, a yes or a no? All right. Do you think that reading is a challenging section? Yes or no? Is reading challenging? Yes. Okay. Do you think it's a time consuming process for you? All right. Okay. Thank you for responding to my questions. So, IELTS reading test is somewhere we can mention that it is a scoring test skill type where you have 40 questions which need to be answered in 60 minutes, and a good score which we a range which we can call a good score is when you touch a 30 plus. So anything between 7 and 9 is considered to be a good user category. And most universities would want a decent score in the reading skill. And depending upon what course or what university you're choosing, the requirement can be higher than that, or it can be a mediocre score, let's say, of a 6 band. So today in this session, let me bring to light one confusing question type, which is multiple choice. Now, in the reading section, we have a lot of questions. There can be questions where you're filling gap, and there can also be questions where you have choices which from which you need to pick an answer. And out of those, one of the most frequently asked question type is multiple choice, wherein you have a single question and you have a series of choices. Now, telling you about the choices, there can be either three, there can even be more than three. So some of the questions, now this particular question set you can find especially in either section 2 or section 3 of the whole test. So you have three different sections, by which I mean if you're taking it for academic purposes, there are three different passages. So mostly we find a multiple choice question either in passage 2 or passage 3, and most predominantly in passage 3, where the complexity of the question also grows. And you must note that these questions, you need to note the instruction pertaining to number of responses that you need to pick. It mostly is one answer kind of question, so it is like multiple choice but a single answer question. But if the instruction says that you need to pick two or three, only then you pick more number of responses. You would be able to see that on your instruction itself. So either it comes as a set, maybe in part 2 or maybe in part 3 of reading, where you have, let's say, in a set with 3, 4, 5, or maybe as on the 6 different multiple choice questions. And in that category, it would be one single response. And you will see on the top of the question saying, choose the correct letter from A to D or from A to C. If it says that which two or which three does the writer mention, then you get the clear indication that you need to pick multiple responses. So that's about the question type, guys. Let's now get to know what are some of the common mistakes that we may be making, which is not allowing us to get better at this particular question type and overall not allowing us to get a better score. The very first thing and one of the most common mistake is the fact that you may be reading the entire content. So all the passages that you get in IELTS reading could be 1.5 to 2 page length long. So firstly, please be aware that all the multiple choice questions that you get, each question is in one single area of the passage. By that, I mean to say that for that entire set or for just one question, you really don't have to read the whole passage first. And that's where you may be spending your whole time and wasting it, in fact. So keep in mind that answers are in one particular spot. Each question is in one particular spot. So we need not read the whole passage first. And these questions are arranged in an order. By that, I mean to say that if there are, let's say, 5 questions from question 27, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, these questions are there in section 3. So wherever you get 27, you would get 28th, 29th in an order. So that's why I repeat, reading the whole content beforehand is not going to be fruitful for you. That's common mistake number 1. Common mistake number 2, when you're looking at the question, let's say I directly jump to the question, that's well and good. But when I look at the questions, I am also looking at the choices. Now you may wonder, why shouldn't I look at the choices? So if there are 3 choices or 4, this is a fact that out of those 4, 3 are already wrong. Why are we investing our time in reading information which is incorrect? So it's better to only focus on the question. Do not look at the choices. It's not going to be productive for you. So look at the questions and directly jump to the text. So one mistake that we noticed is reading the text entirely or reading the question along with the choices. And another major mistake that we may be making is while solving the test. And that could be actually matching just the words of the choices and picking an answer. Multiple choice question is certainly a complex question type. And this is because there are more choices. And the more the choices, more puzzling it is going to be. So please keep in mind that this particular question type will not have information explicitly quoted at times. And this is a question type where there will be major paraphrasing involved. What is paraphrasing? Paraphrasing is when a statement that you see is kind of a meaning that you derive from the text which the writer tries to explain. So you may not see the exactly quoted information in one of your choices. So keep in mind that we have more paraphrased information here. So word matching will never ever be helpful to us. And in this particular question, you would have a lot of questions asking you to understand what the writer infers. That means they will be more inference and implication oriented. By that, I mean to say that you look at a question, you might see it being quoted as, what does the writer suggest by saying this? Or the writer refers to ABC to suggest or to illustrate, or maybe what is the writer's view of, and some concept or a term which has been used must be mentioned. All in all, in these questions, you need to know that from that chunk, wherever that information is given, you need to understand what the writer tries to tell you. So there's a lot reading between the lines which will be involved in this particular question type. So coming to the part, how should we actually solve this? How should we go about it? So step number one, instead of going through the entire content, you directly jump to the questions. When you're looking at the question, at that time, ignore the choices and focus on the question and its keywords. Try to understand the question statement carefully. Another important thing is that when you see these questions in most as a set when it appears, you would also have for a few questions the mention of the paragraph where the answer is located, which will bring in more ease to you guys. So maybe you have 5 questions, out of which for the first and the fifth, it is clearly written that the first question is in the second paragraph and the fifth question is in the third paragraph or the fourth paragraph, let's say, for instance. So you know that your entire chunk is between second and the fourth paragraph. So keep a note of that is the paragraph mentioned so that you are not unnecessarily reading wrong spots. And now, when you are trying to solve, you have read the question, you have marked its keywords, and you have also fully understood the meaning. We are not reading the options. We jump to the area where the writer refers to that information by what? By looking at the keyword, by locating the keyword. And sometimes, yes, when the paragraph is already stated to us. And with this, it could be one para's limited content or maybe the entire paragraph which we may have to read to derive what is he trying to convey with regard to the question. So for example, if the question says, why does the writer refer to, and you have a term being given, now you jump to the area where the writer refers to that particular information. You have to read it thoroughly and see what is the purpose of that term there. Why is he even talking about it? And first gauge it in your mind that, okay, this is possibly the reason. Maybe take a short note to begin with when you're practicing these questions. And now, with your understanding, we now jump to going to the choices. And whatever 4 choices are there, try to match it with each and see what is the meaning of each choice and does it match with the understanding you have obtained from the passage. So if you notice here, we are going the other way around rather than looking at the choices and then going to the passage. So we are going to the passage, understanding the writer's context, and then going to the choices to see that does it match what I have understood. Now, if you are matching it with just a word which you saw in the text, you're making a mistake. There would never be answers which have the same vocabulary. Let me be very clear with that. So, a lot of test takers tend to match that choice, find that choice suitable, which has the same word or expression in the text. So, look for the meaning and not just word matching. And now apply something that we call process of elimination. Maybe you read A and you don't get the same meaning derived. Remove. Go to B. Go to C. Maybe C is right, but also look at D. As if you have eliminated short all the other 3, you have the right answer with you. But there could be a case when we are confused between 2. I can say with certainty that you're able to eliminate 2 options for sure, but then you are confused between 2. So now that's time for you to analyze which choice has all the elements given by the writer. So to trick you, what could they do to design that question? A, they may give a choice which is totally opposite of what the writer says. So we say contradicting information. So you should be able to evaluate that. And B, there is a wrong choice because it's not even mentioned. So these are 2 types of incorrect answers. Incorrect because it contradicts, and incorrect because it is totally not there. And you would notice that the correct answer is always the answer which has a complete paraphrasing of the same information. So what do? We first absorb from the text what is the idea that the writer tries to reflect, and we apply the process of elimination, eliminate at least 2, get to those 2 which we seem could be right, and see each element of that choice and try to match it with the idea you obtained. And this way you would be able to get to the right answer. If, let's say, the question is of a high difficulty level and you're not able to comprehend which is correct, then go with the closest possible as per your thought that time, rather than leaving it blank, because there is no negative marking. So, to give a quick recap as such, multiple choice questions, they are sequential. You have no need to read the whole passage to be able to do those questions, because every question comes from a single area. This will limit you from reading unnecessary portion and would also help you to do it in a short span. How much time should we ideally spend on a multiple choice single question? Could range between 60 and 90 seconds. More than that, really not advisable. You should keep moving on. And ensure you have looked at the instruction to note whether only one answer has to be picked or multiple. Multiple answer questions would have that clearly stated, so please don't be in a hurry just looking at the choices and jumping to the text. So ignore the choices, focus more on the question, understand the meaning of the question, and see if the location has been printed for you, whether it is in para 1, 2, 3, or 4. And don't forget to apply the process of elimination and come up with one correct answer. Don't leave it blank. I hope that it gave you a little bit of clarity on how to go about this question. But all that it calls for now is the right type of practice. So, all you need to do is proper practice. And by that, I mean proper timed practice. And when you do any kind of practice exercise, also check why your answers are going wrong, because doing numerous test papers repeatedly will not make any sense when you don't know what kind of mistake you make. Because the mistake, if not the ones that I shared, if they are not the mistakes, then certainly it is going to be your misinterpretation. And that's what you must be working on. And if that's not an issue, then I'm sure you will get the right answer by following the tips that I shared with you. So that would be all from me here. But don't forget to subscribe to our channel so that you are clear with all the upcoming videos and other useful webinars and sessions that we conduct, and you would get more useful insight. And I hope that this session helped you. It was informative, and all the best for your IELTS. Good luck and fly soon.